Well, hey there, everybody. Matt Heller here, founder of Performance Optimist Consulting and the author of The Myth of Employee Burnout. Here with another episode of 3 Questions. This is where I get to ask 3 questions of a guest, they get to ask 3 questions of me, and we just see where the conversation goes. We have no idea what those questions are going to be when we first start, so all of our answers are unrehearsed and unplanned. So today I am super excited to be joined by Shaun McKeogh, one of my greatest friends in the attractions industry, and I know that we're going to just have a great conversation. So Shaun is a vice president with Management Resources. He's an IAPA certified executive, or he might be certifiable, but that's debatable. Also Shaun is the head of the International Training Academy. So Shaun, if you could just say hello and tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's good to join you, and I feel honoured to be able to be on your 3 questions format, Matt. It's really exciting. I hope we have lots of fun. What do I do? Well, I kind of do a lot what you do. I work with mainly new attractions and new theme parks and museums and water parks around the world, helping them to get ready from a human resources and operations point of view in terms of long-term planning to bring on a large cast of people and sometimes a small cast of people, and work with them to build their human resource strategic plans and strategies and their recruitment plans and their training development, and sometimes I help them to deliver their training as well. So I'm excited because it's a good job, because I do it in a whole lot of different situations around the world with different cultures and different themes. It's a fun job.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get to travel all around the world, which is very, very cool. And you've lived in a lot of different places, which is going to be part of one of my questions for you.
Okay.
But my first question is actually a little bit more professional, and it has to do with training, because I've seen you deliver a lot of training over the years, whether it's at IAPA or through videos I've seen, and you always come up with great interactive activities and ways to get the audience involved and really get the audience thinking. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with. So I wonder if you could just share a little bit about how you come up with some of those things and how you come up with those interactive activities and elements for your programs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question, and one probably I haven't thought about, because sometimes it just comes naturally in terms of thinking through that process. But often when I go and plan training, I think about the core topic and the hard points that you want to deliver, and then I actually go through it and I actually physically look at what's being delivered over the time frame and say, well, how does each of these, does this time frame allow for people to interact and engage in a meaningful way and stay awake? And, I suppose people's attention span is 20 minutes max. And, I know myself, if I'm listening to a trainer, by the 20-minute mark, my eyes start to fall down and I start to become disengaged in even if it's a really good speaker. So I always go back and every 10 to 15 minutes plan some sort of interaction, whether that be something that I do physically to surprise or engage or move the audience, whether that be with some dramatics, or whether that be with some sort of getting people up and moving physically to the other side of the room, because just that interval of having to stand up and move, it wakes everyone up and keeps everyone focused. What are we doing? How are we doing it? What are we saying? Oh, he's moving over near me. Maybe he's going to ask me a question. So I physically think about how I'm present and what everyone is doing within, those time blocks of concentration. And you mentioned about different fun activities and things like that. I always try to go back to my training and say, well, what interactive, engaging activity is going to keep people awake and hit home a hard message in a way that they're going to really remember, what's going to be unique about it. And so often I actually go back to my experience as a kid and what I enjoy. And I used to like playing hide and seek, and I used to like throwing a ball at my friends and hitting them really hard. We used to had this game where you had to hide or else you get hit by the ball really hard, you know, or you get Monopoly board out, you know. And so it's about adapting those sorts of childlike games into an adult environment appropriately, so that they hits home a message, but engages in that fun element of either competition or laughter, or, you know, or strategy, whatever it is. So yeah, I like to think through those things.
Yeah, no, I love your point about, you know, kind of going back to what we like to do as children, you know, because children are always playing, and keeping that alive in a training session can keep people awake and engaged. And again, that's something that I really enjoy about watching you anytime you're presenting. Yeah.
And you know, I remember we might have played this once with you once before, but it was a game of Cluedo, and basically it was you know, what are all the different jobs in an attractions industry environment, and what are the departments, and what are the different foods, and what are the new attractions. So using the game of Cluedo was a really good example of that, you know, taking, you know, the success of why that's an exciting game. And it's basically people are actually, you know, trying to solve the clues and eliminate different areas. And so, you know, what is, for that Cluedo game, it was really having people interact and engage with each other and ask lots of questions. So they're physically standing up in the training room and asking questions, but in a meaningful way, because they're talking about, you know, what is the latest attraction? What is the best food to have in an attraction? And what is a really important job within an attraction? So they're asking all those questions and ticking them off on a little sheet and eliminating those jobs, and eventually identifying exactly, just like in Cluedo, who was the murderer, or what is the best attraction that's going to bring your business success this year. So yeah, that was a little example of you know, using Cluedo, something that's tried and tested, and bringing it back into the training room.
That's awesome. So is that like the American version of Clue?
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. In Australia, we always have a different name.
Yeah, yeah.
I think for Mad Max film, in America it was called The Road Warrior, but yeah, in Australia for Clue, we call it Cluedo.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I'll know next time I'm in Australia and somebody says, "Hey, you want to play Cluedo?"
It's like we say lollies and you say candy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you have one for me?
Yeah, I've got one for you, Matt.
All right.
Hey, I was just working out last night how many years I think we've worked together in the attractions industry. I think I'm right in saying it's been at least 10 years. We first worked with each other on one of the IAPA committees. We were newbies on the work team, and ever since that time, I've treasured our relationship, Matt, in terms of we have a lot of mutual respect for one another, and we support one another throughout the year, and that's based on honesty, and I find a lot of inspiration just talking with you each time we catch up, and hearing your new ideas and what you've been involved in. And when I think about, you know, that relationship and what I admire about that, you know, there's a few key things, Matt, and that I really respect, and that is your positive approach and your can-do attitude to work and to tasks and to problems, and you strategically think things through. And I'm always wowed by the way in which you adapt to technology and the latest technology, and use that in your training and your communication with people. Your rapport with people is absolutely amazing, and you know, that is something that everyone, you know, you step back and watch Matt interact with people, and that rapport is just amazing. Your confidence to speak, and I think that is not just confidence in speaking, but it's rooted in honesty in the way in which you speak with people and challenge people. And I suppose the whole thing is you're very much a coach and an optimist in the way you're present to people. So out of all those attributes that maybe I mentioned, which one attribute do you think has helped you the most in becoming such a positive influence on other people?
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you very much for that. I don't know if this camera is going to be big enough for my head, once with all that recognition. But I would, it's a great question. Probably think about.
You're only allowed to choose one, Matt.
I know, right. And I think I would go with positive, because I think that influences everything that I do. I really try to be positive, kind of consider myself a glass half full kind of person. So when I think about how I'm going to interact with someone, or, adapting to a new situation, or, a new thing that we're doing on the committee, or new people on the committee, or new programs that we're doing, or whatever it is, if I don't have a positive outlook on that, then it's going to be really tough to embrace the change and embrace the things that are coming up. So I think that's probably the key. And kind of along with that, the positive piece kind of keeps me going as well, because not only do I feel like I have a positive outlook on when things change, but it also kind of keeps me thinking of what's new, what's next, not to borrow from the IAPA theme from last year, but what kind of things are coming that we need to be aware of, or that we need to embrace, or that we need to be ready to change for. So I think it's that positivity that kind of helps me navigate those waters.
Matt, you must know though that you must get something from being so positive with other people. Like, it must be self-fulfilling as well in terms of being positive around people.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I like the reaction that I get from people when I am positive, or when I'm able to make them laugh, or to like you said, you present information that really means something to them. So that piece of it is very, very rewarding. And it's, I guess it's like being a teacher, where you have this information and this knowledge to share. And if you do it in a way that people are going to embrace, then of course they're going to be much more likely to have a positive impact on them. So yeah, I mean, there's I don't think I would be this way if it wasn't also something that felt good for me as well. So I think that it's kind of I don't know if you call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, but the more I'm positive to people, the more positivity I get back, and that keeps me going for the next time.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It has been probably 10 years that I was just trying to do the math in my head too. So.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because I think I'm a positive person too, and you highlight that as your most the number one thing that you think helps you to be such a positive influence on others is being so positive. And at some point in our lives, we have to realize that that's an important quality or attribute that we bring to relationships. And what is it that helped us to realize that, and helped you to realize that? Was it reflecting on it, or
I don't know. I think I just did it. I think we're in an industry that's a very positive industry, and
yeah, absolutely.
I think when I sort of realized that this is what I wanted to do and this is the industry I wanted to be in, part of it was because it allowed me to be positive. It allowed me to entertain people, and allowed me to, kind of be a goofball at times, but, still provide a great experience to people. So I think, that all is one big ball of positivity that I feed off of it, and it's something that I enjoy bringing to other people.
Yeah. Well, keep it up.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad you keep doing it.
So thinking about,
you got one for me?
Of course, I've got two more. thinking about being positive, but also thinking on the other side of this. So you've lived in a lot of different places, and I respect so much your ability to, speaking of adapting to all of your new places that you've lived and been able to experience, and just hearing about all those experiences has been wonderful. But I want to ask you about one particular part of living in so many different places around the world, and that's food. So, of all the places you've lived, where has been the best food, and where has been your least favorite food?
Well, I have to be very careful about who what type of cultures I speak about here. But you know what? That's an interesting question, because it's an important part of being able to move around the world and live around the world is being able to adapt to the different foods and have the courage to actually go out and try the foods. And because foods are cooked in so many different environments, some countries, they cook it on the street, and that can be quite a scary thing, to go on the street and to let go of your standards or your experience in regards to how food should be cooked. My experience is mum and dad always cooked food in a closed kitchen, a closed environment. They went to the butcher where things were cold, and that they brought it home in bagged situation, and put it straight in the fridge really quickly, and said, "Shaun, quickly put it in the fridge because we don't want it to get, spoilt." And so food was prepared in a very different way. Whereas where I've traveled, mainly in Asia and lived in Asia, it's food is very much a community thing. And so it's all out there. The kitchens are open. The kitchens have no walls, even in a house, or the kitchens are on the street, and people come out of their homes and don't just sit in four walls like we do in Australia or the USA and eat our family meal, but they eat on the street. They gather some chairs, and other people come and join them and sit near them. And food and eating food is such a community experience in where I live. So I love that aspect of it, but you know what? I cannot eat spicy food. It just doesn't click with me, and my body rejects it really quickly. I start to sweat, and I start to go all red, and my ears start throbbing, and so I have to be very careful about the choices I make in regards to the foods. And so I always say, no spice. Is this spicy? And for example, in India, they'll say, "Oh yes, Shaun, that is, it's not spicy, no spice," but it comes back and it's just burning my head off. So people's
so no spice to them is a lot of spice to you.
Different.
Yeah.
But I think you have to experiment, and you have to find out what's good and why people like foods. And I think that's part of the experience of living overseas, is just exploring the foods. I love that. And I stick away from the spices. And because of that, I just love eating here in Vietnam, because Vietnamese food is so fresh and so tasty. But when it comes to spice, normally spice is put on the side. And so you choose. Vietnamese eat a lot of spice, but they put it on themselves. And so the food is full of the natural flavors, which I love, but I don't have to go and dip it in the chili.
Right.
And so that's why I think I really click with the Vietnamese food. Traveling around and like I was in China last year in opening a World Heritage Site, and the whole town, every single food in that town was extremely impregnated with high octane chili. It was really, really tough to eat. So in the few weeks that I was living there, I found myself actually having to go to the only Western restaurant that was in town, just to have that break from the chili, because it wears you down. It wears me down, eating food that maybe isn't comfortable with me.
Yeah, I would imagine. So would you say that was some of your least favorite, or is there someplace else that...
Yeah, I think it was in Heilongjiang, Zunyi, China, and it's a World Heritage Site, and very, very indigenous in terms of the people there, and you know, they just smile and at my reaction, physical reaction to spice, but yeah, everything they ate was infused with chili, and it was a tough place to be for quite a number of weeks, because I was not able to eat something that was nutritional enough to keep my energy up to train and to be present to people.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the food that you ended up having to eat? You said it was the Western.
I can't remember the name of the Western shop, but it was almost like a KFC, but with a Chinese name. And it didn't convert very well into English. So it was a little bit rude, but yeah, I was going in there to get chicken and you know, flatbreads and things like that, you know.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good to know. I'll keep that in mind, because I'm not that much of a spicy eater either. So awesome. Yeah. Got another one for me?
I'm going to throw one at you.
Bring it.
And Matt, you have a beat. You're always, you know, walking with a beat and a spring in your step, and I know you do play the drums, and you used to be in a band, and you're very good at, you know, when we have conversations, you're very good at very quickly picking up what is the, you know, the where's the conversation going, and, you know, what's the next thing to say. So really in life, you bring your physical ability and your skills to pick up a beat. You bring that into your relationships with people. So I'm going to ask you, what is it that enables you to have such a consistent beat or rhythm in life? What keeps you motivated and inspired personally?
Can I say positivity again?
No, can't say that.
No, can't say that. Well, it is true. I still play drums, and it's funny because my wife and I will be sitting and watching TV, and, you know, a song will come on that, you know, has never been on before, and I'll just kind of tap on her hand or something, the beat, and she's like, "How do you know what that beat is?" But it's just, you know, because beats are, without, you know, they're rhythmic, but they're repetitive. So when you hear a song, most, you know, songs that you hear, especially, you know, in the United States and things, there's a definite repetitiveness to it. So maybe it's that the repetitiveness that I pick up on. I also think that there's a lot of relationship between the rhythm of drums and the rhythm of language. So when you hear a conversation happening, even this conversation, you know, I'm you know, obviously listening to what you're having to say, and probably if we were in person, there'd be a little bit more give and take and back and forth. But there's a certain rhythm to people's sentences, and there's a cadence to the way people talk, and you know, just being able to kind of pick that up, you know, helps you relate to people and helps you, you know, join into a conversation. And I really would say that people are what motivate me and keep me going, because when I get to work with a large group of people, and I get to, you know, hear different stories, and I get to, you know, embrace their culture and find out what's going on with them, that really does inspire me and keep me moving forward. And, you know, with the clients that I get to work with, I get most excited when we start talking about, okay, now what does it really look like that we're going to be doing? You know, what is it? What are the main issues that you want to try to fix, or what are the things you really want to enhance? Because that's where you really get into, you know, sort of the people issues and try to understand the dynamics between people. And, you know, sometimes it's a relatively I don't want to say easy process, but a quicker process, and sometimes it takes much longer. Sometimes there's a lot of water under the bridge with certain relationships, that it takes a long time to kind of fix those things. And but that's a process that I enjoy. So I think it's the study of people. It's the study of people's behaviors, why they do what they do. I mean, people are just ultimately fascinating. And it's I guess maybe a little ironic that when I was in college, I had a psychology class, and I had no interest in it whatsoever. But once I kind of started studying people in the quote unquote real world and started really observing when this happens, then, there's a cause and effect. So kind of understanding what that relationship is and being able to then take that information and apply it to the next conversation and the next conversation and the next conversation. I would say that's kind of what keeps me motivated and keeps me wanting to move forward.
Yeah.
How about you?
I like the way that you looked at it and you said, look, you're very quickly able to pick up the beat in music, and that basically when it comes to people, you listen to their language and you pick up their beats, or their, you've almost heard it before and you recognize that beats, and you're able to engage with them very quickly. I see that in you very much.
Oh, thank you. And I had, made the relationship in my mind between, drums and language, but never, until you asked that question, never really made the connection between drums and language and then conversation. So that was an interesting revelation on my part. So what keeps you motivated and keeps you going?
Oh, and I think mine is very much the same as yours, is I gain inspiration or motivation from being able to help other people and be present to other people in a positive way. And again, it sounds the same sounds very much like you, but it brings me great joy to be able to be a positive influence on someone. And I remember a number of years ago, my brother, who I love dearly, he had a tragic accident and died. And, in that sort of situation, it would have been very easy. And in fact, we started, our whole family started to head down into a big black hole. And that to me was a very negative thing. And how, the only way I could see myself getting out of that hole was to, and to bring positiveness to that situation was to say, okay, my brother was a fantastic person. And what were those qualities in him that that are worth creating, becoming his legacy? And so living taking on many of his values and living the way he did was inspiration to other people, but it was also positive because it kept his legacy alive for us and our family. So remembering someone that died, and this is the advice I give to someone when someone's down after someone has died too, is what is it that was great about that person, and just keep remembering that and recreating their legacy and the attributes that made them so good, and that's your tribute to them. And I think that's that's what inspires me, is being able to have a positive impact on people through positive actions and positive words and a positive presence. Which is motivating.
And which is probably why you and I get along so well. Because
I think
those
so.
things are very similar, I think, with both of us. All right, well, I have one more.
Okay.
For you. And speaking of your positivity-ness, you've already demonstrated in this interview, this call, that you're very good at recognizing people. And I've always been impressed how well and how naturally that comes to you in terms of recognize other people's contributions and really getting them to take another step because you recognize what they've done so well and you want them to continue doing those things. And of course, I have it very close to me, my Reasons to Reward book that Shaun wrote.
You are the greatest salesman, Matt Heller.
But of course, I can't also, I also have to mention in the instance of recognition, Shaun, how well Shaun recognizes everything that happens, and this is about the world's worst keychain, which is a whole story for another time. But anyway, so my question, Shaun, in terms of recognition is, You really are an expert on this, and I'm sure this is a big part of what you do when you consult with different clients, and you're setting up their HR practices, which is obviously, recognition and rewards is a huge part of that. But I wonder, what kind of things do you run into that very well-intentioned people do? And they think this is the way to really recognize and reward people, but they're missing the boat. So what kind of things are people doing that they think they're doing it right, but they're really missing the boat in terms of recognition and rewarding people?
Yeah, look, I think that's a very good question, and I think when it comes to recognition, people don't really, in leadership, don't really spend a lot of time thinking about that and what is impactful and what is effective when it comes to recognition. I often see leaders that think they're doing it. And this is an interesting question, because if you survey employees, often the leadership think they're giving lots of recognition, but the employees don't think they're getting lots of recognition. And it's an interesting paradigm. And then when you delve a little bit further and find out how the leaders think they're delivering recognition, they think they're delivering it often. They think they're delivering it every day. They think they're delivering it personally. They think they're delivering it, they're being very specific about making sure it's happening a lot. But when you actually look at their language, it's very generic. It's, we did a good job. You all did a great job. I'm really happy with you. We achieved our targets. It's fantastic. It's very generic in terms of language that they use. But where they're missing the boat is not being specific to people, to persons, and specifically saying what they are impressed about that person and that person's contribution and how that person's contribution impacted the business. It's like you look at those leaders and they say to a whole group of people in a call center, they say, "Hey, great job everyone today. You did it. You did a great job." Well, everyone turns around and goes, "Oh yeah, here he goes again." But if the leader walked up to each one and said, "Hey, look, I really like the way in which you specifically handled that call and the way in which you said this and you applied this SOP, that made the customer really know that we cared for them. Keep up the good work. That's good for our business." Something specific as that is the difference between, that's the difference between the leader that's just saying generic stuff and thinks they're doing a great job with recognition, and the one that actually knows how to effectively deliver recognition and is right down there to the basis of, and the specifics of what they're impressed about and what they want to keep seeing happening, or, in terms of a person. So, I think leaders, there's a gap there, because leaders often think generic recognition is good recognition, and it is sometimes, maybe in a newsletter.
Yeah.
But
okay.
When it comes to people in a room, you've got to make it personal and spend time with each person.
Absolutely. And a real quick follow up to that: what about like incentive programs, as people try to reward people for certain behaviors and activities? What have you found that works really well for those?
Yeah, again, I'm not big on incentive programs myself. I don't think that they should be the starting point, because the most effective recognition, the one that people really value, is the personal one-on-one appreciation that's very specific. So it's the fact that someone has actually spent time to notice and say something about how they appreciate someone and what they did. So I think that's the most effective, and that's where all recognition program planning should start. And how should that happen in an organization? Well, I suppose in my experience, it should start with training the leadership team on how how to have that skill and deliver that skill and be aware of the importance of that skill and the value it has on a relationship. That's the most important thing that should ever happen. But I do like the fact that, around that, you can make it a lot more fun by creating tools and resources to highlight some of the cultural values of a business. And that's where I think incentives can come in play. That layered on top of that, you have some incentives that remind people of the importance of certain values that we have in our business. And again, every business has what they can achieve, and some businesses have no budget at all. And so what can they achieve? Well, they can manipulate a few briefings and turn them into little parties, okay? And some big businesses, well, they can bring in, they can access amazing prizes. And those prizes shouldn't be incentives as such. They should be, they should make the workplace more fun and enjoyable, but layered upon that recognition program.
Yeah.
In a very strategic way.
Right. And I've always found that those rewards that were part of any kind of incentive program, they could be a very, very small thing, but if they were tied to some sort of recognition and appreciation that you're talking about, it was just sort of a physical representation of the appreciation, and it was tied to the company values, and it was done in a way that was very, very meaningful to that specific individual. Those are the ones that I've found to be the most impactful. But
yeah,
like what you're saying, if all people do is an incentive program, but they don't train their managers on how to properly provide, in the moment, on the spot recognition, then, they're kind of wasting their money on that. On all those prizes, they're just going to go out the window. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I am for incentives, but only after they're actually doing the basics, which is that one-on-one skill of communicating what they appreciate in each person's contribution.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Do you have one more?
I have one more for you.
Yee-hoo.
And this is your opportunity, Matt, to dream big. It's imagination time. Anything is possible, all right?
Got it.
I'm going to whisk you away to 2026, okay? That's 10 years away. Now, you're 58 right now, right? No,
40,
you're 48.
46. I'm 46. Something like that. Anyway. I'm right. 56-ish, something like that.
Oh, okay. All right. So 2026 then. That's 10
years
away.
Yep.
What would Matt like to be doing in 10 years' time in 2026? If you can imagine yourself, what would you like to be doing?
Well, probably still be on the HR committee with you.
Hey!
Wow, yeah, 2026. I think of all the areas of what I'm doing now that I would like to expand even more, it's getting more involved with one-on-one with people and individual coaching and those type of things. I love what I get to do when I get to work with a large group. I love working with small groups. I love all that. But I think if I were to fast forward to 2026, I would still be supporting the attractions industry. I've stepped away in my career a couple of times, and I've always come back. I love the industry. So that I think I will still be doing. I think by that time, maybe 2 more books will have been written
cool.
to complement the one that I already have. And I think that my practice, while I will still be focused on like leaders in the attractions industry and that whole thing, probably even taking a more personal focus and doing more coaching, more one-on-one type of things. I don't, like I said, see myself leaving this industry or trying to expand into other industries. And I definitely still see myself on my own as my own practitioner. Somebody once asked me, would I see myself bringing more people on to sort of teach what I teach, or, if it got to a point where, I was having to turn things down because of, I was so busy in my schedule. I don't know. I'd have to kind of evaluate that when it came. I think the other thing I would love to do more of is being able to bring people together. So I love going out to and working with companies, but I think I would also love the opportunity to bring people from different companies together to work and to kind of mastermind and brainstorm, and kind of like what we get to do at IAPA for a week, where we have all of our 30,000 best friends there for the week, and we get to interact with people, and I think bringing people together to have them learn from each other and sort of those kind of capacities, I think would be a lot of fun, and I could definitely see myself doing that down the road.
I'm so glad to hear that you're going to still stay with the attractions industry, because you just you're such a leader within the attractions industry, and people respect and look to you for your experience and advice, and it's so valued. So to stay there, I'm so glad to hear that. It's good for me, because I can be old.
So are you going to stay? You're going to stick around?
Yeah, and you're talking about I suppose being a little bit more independent and being able to help coach and advise as an individual. I would see myself in 10 years' time probably being coming back to an organization and working within an organization again. I think it would be time for me to do that again, and have a huge team. Working with a huge team of people. Yeah.
And you would certainly know how to recognize them.
I love that experience of seeing them grow.
Oh yeah. I was going to say you certainly know how to recognize them and appreciate them and keep them working hard. If for the couple of years that you've been the chair of the Human Resources Committee, it seems like there's nothing we can't do. With you asking us to do it and recognizing our achievements and our efforts. So
we have a hard-working team. We have a brilliant team.
We do. Awesome. So Shaun, that is the end of my questions. And unless you have any other questions, I think it'll be unfortunately time to sign off.
Well, that was fun, Matt. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we could do 6 or 8 questions.
We could do that, and we should do it more often. Yeah.
So thank you, Shaun, for your time this evening, my evening, your morning. I really do appreciate it. And if there's anybody that has questions for myself or wants to be a guest on 3 questions, I'm definitely open to that. So please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email at matt@performanceoptimist.com. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you later. Bye-bye.